The observation deck was never this quiet. 28 of the galaxy's finest cadets stood frozen, their breath shallow, their eyes locked on the holographic horror unfolding before them. Cities burned. Soldiers laughed in the face of death. Entire armies vanished beneath storms of fire and steel. And then, the final clip. A single human, wounded, bleeding, grinning as he triggered the detonator that would take them all to hell together. Captain Leora Dane's voice cut through the silence like a blade. Asterisk, this is what war looks like when humans wage it. Asterisk, one by one, the cadets began removing their rank insignias. Because some lessons aren't taught, they're survived. And humanity? They always survive. Please wait. Before we start, tap that iCard button in the top right corner and smash that subscribe button. Right now, hit the notification bell so you're first in line when new stories land. Alright, let's dive into the story. Chapter 1. The observation deck of the Void Strider stretched wide and cold, its curved walls lined with glowing control panels that cast an eerie blue light across the faces of the 28 alien cadets standing at attention. The air smelled faintly of ozone and polished metal, a sterile scent that did nothing to calm the tension thickening among them. They were the best of the best, handpicked from across the Galactic Federation's military academies. Yet none of them had ever seen their instructors like this. Commander Kale Vexus, a mountain of a man with deep violet eyes and a voice like grinding stone, paced slowly in front of them. His boots echoed against the deck with each deliberate step. "You've spent years training," he said, pausing to lock eyes with a particularly nervous cadet near the front. "But today, you learn what real war looks like." A murmur rippled through the group. Captain Leora Dane, standing beside Vexus with her arms crossed, smirked. Her emerald green skin shimmered under the lights, and her golden eyes gleamed with something between amusement and warning. "Oh, don't look so worried," she purred. "It's not like we're throwing you into battle." Yet, Cadet Ryan Soul, a lean marksman with sharp, calculating eyes, couldn't help but frown. "With all due respect, Captain, why does this feel like a threat?" Leora laughed, a sound like glass breaking prettily. "Because it is." Vexus grunted in agreement before tapping a command into his wrist display. The center of the room darkened, and a massive holographic projector flickered to life. "What you're about to see," he said, "is classified. It's also the reason half the Federation strategists drink themselves to sleep." Cadet Mira Vexa, a close-quarters specialist with a reputation for being fearless, scoffed. "Please, we've studied every major conflict in the known galaxy. What could possibly—" The hologram flared, and her voice died in her throat. Cities burning, soldiers screaming, a mushroom cloud swallowing the sky. Cadet Tarek Null, the group's tech expert, let out a low whistle. "That's primitive and horrifying." Leora tilted her head. "Primitive? Maybe. Effective? Absolutely." Ryan's hands clenched into fists. "Who are these people?" Vexus exhaled sharply. "Humans." Silence. Then, from the back of the group, Cadet Jessa Kryn, a tactical prodigy, muttered, "Well, that explains why the Federation never invaded their planet." Leora's smirk widened. "Smart girl." The footage continued. Guerrilla ambushes, suicide charges, soldiers laughing as they rigged entire buildings to explode. Mira swallowed hard. "They don't just fight to win. They fight to break you." Vexus nodded. "And now you understand why you're here." The cadets exchanged uneasy glances. Leora uncrossed her arms and stepped forward, her voice dropping to a whisper. "Because if humanity ever turns those tactics outward..." She let the words hang. "The galaxy won't survive it." The hologram froze on the image of a single human soldier, standing atop a pile of wreckage, grinning like a madman. And in that moment, every cadet in the room realized one terrible truth. This wasn't just a lesson. It was a warning. Chapter 2. The holographic footage flickered, shifting to a new scene of devastation. A vast jungle stretched endlessly, its dense canopy hiding horrors the cadets couldn't yet imagine. The first explosion ripped through the silence, a deafening blast that sent birds screaming into the sky. Then came the gunfire. Not the orderly, disciplined volleys of Federation troops, but chaotic, relentless bursts that seemed to come from everywhere at once. Cadet Mira Vexa leaned forward, her sharp eyes tracking movement in the undergrowth. What kind of combat strategy is this? They're not even in formation. Captain Leora Dane chuckled darkly. That's because they're not fighting a war, Cadet. They're hunting. The footage zoomed in on a group of human soldiers, their faces streaked with mud, their eyes gleaming with something between fury and exhilaration. They moved like ghosts, vanishing into the foliage only to reappear meters away, their weapons barking death. Cadet Targ Null adjusted his datapad nervously. Their tech is outdated. How are they this effective? Commander Vexus crossed his massive arms. Because they don't rely on tech. They rely on terror. A sudden scream pierced the air as a human soldier emerged from a hidden tunnel, dragging a wounded enemy combatant into the open. The cadets recoiled as the human knelt, pressing a blade to the captive's throat, then hesitated. The camera lingered on his face as he whispered something to his prisoner before standing and walking away. Cadet Jessa Kryn blinked. He spared him. Leora's golden eyes gleamed. That's the worst part. Humans can turn mercy into a weapon too. That prisoner will spread stories. Fear. And fear wins wars faster than bullets. The scene shifted again, this time to a sprawling desert where a lone human sniper lay motionless for hours, waiting. When he finally fired, the shot traveled nearly 2 kilometers before striking its target with chilling precision. Cadet Rhinesole, the group's sniper, paled. That's impossible. Even with our tech, that shot would be standard training for them, Vexus interrupted. And that's not even their best. As if on cue, the footage jumped to an urban battlefield. Buildings crumbled as humans fought room to room, floor to floor. One soldier, a woman with wild eyes and a bloodied face, pulled the pin from a grenade and threw it backward as she charged forward, using the explosion's shockwave to propel herself into the enemy line. Myra's voice was barely a whisper. They're insane. No, Liora Kerektiv. They're inspired. The hologram froze on the woman's face mid-scream, her weapon raised triumphantly amid the carnage. The cadets sat in stunned silence until Tarek finally spoke. So what's the lesson here? That we should be terrified of humans. Vexus shook his head. The lesson is that until today, you've been playing at war. Humans live it, and if you can't understand that, he gestured to the frozen image, you'll end up just like her enemies. A heavy quiet settled over the group, broken only when Jessa suddenly stood, her chair clattering to the floor. I need air. She strode toward the exit, her breathing uneven. Leora called after her without turning. Running away won't change what you've seen, Cadet. Jessa paused at the door, her voice trembling with something between anger and awe. I'm not running. I'm going to train. Because if that's what we're up against, I refuse to be unprepared. As the door hissed shut behind her, the remaining cadets exchanged glances. Ryan finally broke the silence with a dry laugh. Well, at least now we know why the Federation drinks. Vexus didn't smile. Save the jokes. Tomorrow, you'll see what happens when humans take warfare to space. And trust me, he tapped the console, plunging the room into darkness save for the glowing exit signs. You're not ready. Chapter 3. The next morning, the cadets filed back into the observation deck with none of their usual chatter. Dark circles shadowed their eyes, evidence of a sleepless night. Only Jessa seemed energized, her fingers drumming a relentless rhythm on her thigh as she took her seat. The holographic projector hummed to life, but this time it displayed the cold void of space. A massive Federation cruiser dominated the view, its sleek silver hull bristling with weapons. Commander Vexus's voice cut through the silence. The Dawn Horizon, one of our most advanced warships. 3 years ago, it encountered a human vessel near the Orion Belt. The footage jumped to show a small, boxy human ship, ugly by Federation standards, with none of the graceful curves of their designs. Cadets nu snorted. That thing looks like it was cobbled together from scrap. Captain Leora smirked. And yet, within 10 minutes, it had the Dawn Horizon dead in its sights. The cadets stiffened as the footage played out. The human ship moved erratically, spinning in ways that defied standard evasion patterns. Then, without warning, it launched a single missile. Not at the cruiser, but past it. What are they doing? Mira whispered. The missile detonated half a kilometer beyond the Dawn Horizon, and suddenly the Federation ship's systems flickered. Lights died, engines sputtered, Ryan's jaw tightened. An EMP? But our shielding should have, Leora interrupted, but didn't. Because the humans didn't just use an EMP. They hacked ours. They studied our tech, found its weaknesses, and turned our own defenses against us. On screen, the human ship pivoted, its weapons locking onto the now helpless cruiser. A voice crackled over the comms. Calm, almost cheerful. Asterisk Federation vessel. This is Captain Elias Vance of the Earth Defense Frigate Asterisk Audacity. Asterisk, you've got 3 choices. Surrender, retreat, or find out why our engineers call this the fuck around and find out missile. Over. Asterisk silence. Then, to the cadets' shock, the Dawn Horizon powered down its weapons. Jessa let out a disbelieving laugh. They bluffed a Federation cruiser into surrendering. Vexus's expression was grim. Was it bluff? We'll never know, because the captain chose not to test it. The footage changed again, this time to a space station under siege. Human Marines in armored suits breached the airlocks, their movements synchronized, their tactics brutal. One Marine, his helmet cracked, kept fighting even as blood floated in 0G around his head. Myra's fists clenched. They don't stop, even when they should. No, Leora agreed. They don't. And that's what makes them unpredictable. A sudden alert blared on the footage. A human ship, critically damaged, spinning toward the station. The Marines didn't flee. They laughed. Asterisk, all right, boys, asterisk, their commander growled over the comms. Asterisk, let's see if we can't make this asterisk really memorable. The ship's core detonated, not by accident, but by design. The explosion ripped through the station's defenses, clearing the way for reinforcements. Tarek's voice was hollow. They used their own ship as a bomb. Vexus nodded, and that's when the Federation realized something terrifying. He paused, letting the words sink in. Humans don't just accept sacrifice. They plan for it. The hologram froze on the explosion, casting the cadets in its fiery glow. Jessa stood abruptly, her chair scraping back. I've seen enough. Leora arched a brow. Oh, Jessa met her gaze, her own eyes burning with something new. Not fear, but hunger. I need to train, because if this is how humans fight. She turned on her heel, striding toward the door. I want to be ready. The door hissed shut behind her. Ryan exhaled sharply. Well, I suddenly understand why half the Federation wants to glass Earth. Leora's smile was razor thin, and the other half, he glanced back at the frozen image of destruction, is smart enough to know we'd lose. Vexus grunted. Tomorrow, you see the aftermath. What happens when humans win? The cadets exchanged uneasy glances. None of them were sure they wanted to know. Chapter 4. The observation deck lights flickered to full brightness, revealing the cadets' exhausted faces. Dark circles had deepened under their eyes, and the usual confident postures were gone. Shoulders slumped, fingers tapping nervously. Only Jessa remained rigid, her jaw set, her eyes locked on the empty, holographic display. Captain Leora Dane strode to the front, her form-fitting tactical suit accentuating every purposeful movement. Yesterday, you saw how humans fight. She tapped a command into her wrist display. Today, you'll see what happens after they win. The hologram shimmered to life, revealing a war-torn city, but not the smoking ruins the cadets expected. Instead, the streets were alive with activity. Humans moved through the rubble, clearing debris, treating wounded, rebuilding homes. Children laughed as they played near makeshift schools. Cadet Mira Vexa frowned. "This isn't what I expected." Commander Vexus crossed his arms. "You thought they'd leave it in ashes?" "I thought they'd rule it," Mira admitted. On screen, a human soldier, the same one who'd led the brutal assault days before, knelt beside an elderly alien, carefully wrapping a bandage around their injured arm. His voice was gentle. Asterisk, easy now. You're safe. Asterisk, Cadet Tarek Null leaned forward. Is this propaganda? Leora's golden eyes flashed. No, it's doctrine. Humans call it hearts and minds. They understand something we've forgotten. Conquest is temporary. Loyalty lasts forever. The footage shifted to show human medics working alongside former enemies, engineers repairing infrastructure, even soldiers sharing rations with starving civilians. Ryan's soul shook his head. This doesn't make sense. They fight like demons, then this. Vexus grunted. That's their secret, Cadet. The cruelty is calculated. The mercy? Strategic. A new scene appeared. A human officer standing before a crowd of conquered aliens, his translator booming. Asterisk, your leaders lied to you. They told you we were monsters. Look around. Who's rebuilding your homes? Who's feeding your children? Asterisk, the crowd murmured, their suspicion giving way to reluctant gratitude. Jess's fingers dug into her knees. It's a trick, Leora smirked. Of course it is. But tell me, if you were starving and someone fed you, would you care why they did it? The hologram froze on a child hugging a human soldier, the warrior's rough hands carefully supporting the little one. Tarek exhaled sharply. This is worse than the battles. Mira nodded. Because it works. Vexus stepped forward, his voice low. Now you understand the real threat. Humans don't just conquer worlds. They claim them. And given enough time, he glanced at the frozen image. The conquered thanked them for it. A heavy silence fell. Then Jessa stood, her chair scraping back. I need to see more. Leora arched a brow. More. Jessa met her gaze, her eyes burning. The battles were one thing. This is genius. I need to understand how they think. Ryan snorted. Careful, Jessa. You're starting to sound like a fan. She didn't smile. I'm starting to sound like someone who wants to win. The door hissed shut behind her as she left. Vexus exchanged a glance with Leora before addressing the remaining cadets. Tomorrow, you'll meet them. Mira blinked. Meet? Leora's lips curved into a razor-sharp smile. The humans, of course. The room erupted into chaos. Tarek's voice rose above the noise. You're bringing humans aboard? Are you insane? Vexus waited for the uproar to die down before speaking again. No, we're being smart. Because after everything you've seen, he paused, letting the weight of his words sink in. Don't you think it's time you learned from the masters? The cadets fell silent, the hologram's glow reflecting in their wide, uncertain eyes. Tomorrow would change everything, and none of them were ready. Chapter 5. The Void Strider's docking bay was eerily silent as the cadets stood at attention, their uniforms immaculate, their expressions carefully neutral. Only the occasional nervous tap of a boot or twitch of a tail betrayed their attention. The massive airlock doors loomed before them, their sealed surface humming with contained energy. Cadet Mira Vexa adjusted her stance slightly, her voice barely above a whisper. This is a bad idea. We should be studying them from a distance, not inviting them onto our ship. Beside her, Tarek Null snorted. Relax. They're just humans, not gods. Jessa Kryn didn't turn, her eyes locked on the airlock. After what we've seen, the difference might be academic. A sharp tone echoed through the bay, and the massive doors began to slide open with a hiss of pressurized gas. Commander Vexus and Captain Leora stood at the forefront, their postures rigid, their faces unreadable. Remember, Vexus growled under his breath. No matter what they say or do, you will maintain discipline. Leora smirked. And try not to gawk. They love when people gawk. The doors fully retracted, revealing 3 figures silhouetted against the bright light of the docking tunnel. The first to step forward was a towering man with close-cropped gray hair and a cybernetic eye that glowed faintly blue. His stance was relaxed, but the cadets didn't miss the way his fingers hovered near the weapon at his hip. Admiral Nathan Graves, Vexus announced, his voice carefully neutral. Welcome aboard the Void Strider. The Admiral's remaining organic eye swept over the cadets, his lips quirking into something that wasn't quite a smile. Hell of a reception committee. You all look like you're waiting for me to bite. The second figure stepped forward, a woman with sharp features, dark hair pulled into a tight braid, and a gaze that seemed to dissect everything it touched. She wore a sleek black uniform with subtle armor plating at the joints. And this, Leora said, is Dr. Isabel Rain, Chief Strategist of Earth's Orbital Defense. Isabel's smile was razor-thin. Charmed. The third figure, a younger man with a scar running down one cheek and an easy, almost lazy grin, leaned against the doorframe. And I'm Lieutenant Damon Cross, but you can call me the fun one. A beat of silence. Then Cadet Ryan Soul muttered, "They're smaller than I expected." Damon's grin widened. "Ah, that's cute. You thought we'd be 10 feet tall and breathing fire." He pushed off the wall and sauntered forward, stopping just inches from Ryan. "Nah, we're just better." The air crackled with tension. Jessa broke it by stepping forward, her hand extended toward Isabel. "Cadet Jessa Kryn, I'd like to discuss your orbital defense protocols." Isabel's eyebrow arched. "Would you now?" "Yes, because I've studied every engagement in the Proxima conflict, and your tactical retreat at Vega Station made no sense until I realized it was a feint." Jessa's eyes burned. "You let them think they'd won." For the first time, Isabel's smile reached her eyes. "Oh, I like you. Admiral Graves Chekhov. Careful, document. She's starting to sound like you." Commander Vexus cleared his throat. "We should adjourn to the briefing room. There's much to discuss." As the group turned to leave, Damon fell in a step beside Mira, his voice low. "So, you're the close-quarters specialist, huh?" Myra's jaw tightened, and Damon's grin turned feral. "I've always wanted to spar with an alien." Before she could respond, Leora's voice cut in. "Down, boy. Save it for the training deck." Damon winked. "Oh, I plan to." As they walked, Tarek leaned toward Ryan. "This is not what I signed up for." Ryan watched the humans, the way they moved, the way their eyes missed nothing, and exhaled sharply. "Yeah, but it's exactly what we needed." The doors to the briefing room slid open, revealing a holographic display of the galaxy. Admiral Graves stopped before it, his expression turning serious. "Now, let's talk about why we're really here." The cadets exchanged glances. Something told them the real lesson was just beginning. Chapter 6. The briefing room's lights dimmed as Admiral Graves activated the holographic display, casting swirling star maps across the cadets' faces. The Milky Way rotated slowly, certain systems pulsing red while others glowed a steady blue. Dr. Isabel Rain stepped forward, tapping a command into the console. The projection zoomed in on a cluster of red-marked systems near the galactic rim. "These are the Crixus Dominion's latest territorial acquisitions," she said, her voice cool and precise. "In the past 6 months, they've annexed 17 worlds, not through superior firepower, but because those worlds chose them over the Federation. Cadet Tarek nul fronet. That's impossible. The Crixus are slavers." "Why would anyone?" "Because the Crixus asked first," Admiral Graves interrupted. He crossed his arms, his cybernetic eye whirring softly as it focused. While the Federation was busy dictating terms, the Crixus were offering favors. Protection. A seat at the table. His mouth twisted. "Sound familiar?" The room went very still. Jessa Kryn's eyes narrowed. You're saying we need to fight like the Crixus? Lieutenant Damon Cross barked a laugh. Hell no, we're saying you need to fight like us. He leaned back in his chair, balancing it on two legs. See the Crixus? They're playing the long game. And right now, they're winning. Captain Leora Dane's golden eyes flashed, which is why Earth has proposed an alliance. A real one, not a Federation mandate, a partnership. Commander Vexus grunted. Assuming your people can be trusted. Isabel's smile didn't reach her eyes. We could say the same about yours. The hologram shifted, showing a new set of data. Federation casualty reports, supply line disruptions, entire fleets mysteriously vanishing near Crixus borders. Cadet Mira Vexus sucked in a sharp breath. They're preparing for war. Already in one, Damon corrected, letting his chair drop back to all four legs with a thud. You just haven't realized it yet. Rhinesol's fingers drummed against the table. So what's the plan? If we ally with Earth, what stops the Crixus from turning their full attention on us? Admiral Graves exchanged a glance with Isabel before answering. Two things. He held up a finger. First, Earth's particular reputation for making invasions unprofitable. A second finger joined a first. And second, the fact that we've already identified the Crixus's homeworld. The cadets stiffened. Jess's voice was barely above a whisper. That's classified intelligence. How did you? Isabel cut her off with a look. The how doesn't matter. What matters is that the Crixus don't know we know. And if the Federation and Earth strike together, first, Tark shot to his feet. You're talking about genocide. Damon's grin turned icy. Nah, we're talking about a message. One big enough that every 2-bit warlord in the galaxy hears it loud and clear. He mimed an explosion with his hands. Asterisk, don't fuck with Earth. Don't fuck with our allies. Asterisk, silence. Then, from the back of the room, Cadet Rhinesol began to laugh, a low, humorless sound. And here I thought we were the ruthless ones. Admiral Graves met his gaze without flinching. You were, until you met us. The hologram flickered, zooming in on a single, unremarkable yellow star. Isabel's fingers hovered over the controls. This is the decision point. Ally with us, and we end the Crixus threat in a single stroke. Refuse. She let the implication hang. Captain Leora stepped forward, her voice softer now. This is why we showed you the footage. Why we brought them here. She gestured to the humans. The galaxy's changing. The old rules won't protect you anymore. Jessa stood abruptly, her chair scraping back. I need air. As she strode toward the door, Damon called after her. Running away won't change what's coming, Cadet. She didn't turn. Who said anything about running? The door hissed shut behind her. The remaining cadets exchanged glances, some horrified, some calculating, a few with something dangerously close to admiration. Commander Vexus finally broke the silence. We'll need time to consider. Admiral Gravis Nadith. You got 12 hours. Isabel added softly, choose wisely. As the humans filed out, the hologram continued to spin, the Crixus homeworld glowing like an angry ember at its center. One way or another, war was coming, and nothing would ever be the same. Chapter 7. The observation deck was silent when the cadets reassembled, the weight of their decision pressing down like a physical force. The holographic star map still hung in the air, the Crixus homeworld pulsing ominously at its center. Jessa stood apart from the others, her arms crossed, staring out the viewport at the swirling nebula beyond. Captain Leora Dane entered last, her boots clicking against the metal floor. Time's up, she announced. What's your answer? The cadets exchanged glances. Then Mira stepped forward, her voice steady. We're in. A slow smile spread across Leora's face. All of you, Rye nodded. You showed us the truth. The Federation's been playing by rules nobody else follows. He jerked his chin toward the star map. If we don't end this now, it'll never end. Tarek sighed, rubbing his temples. I still think it's insane. But it's the only move we've got. The doors hissed open, and Admiral Graves strode in, followed by Isabel and Damon. The Admiral's cybernetic eye gleamed as he surveyed the cadets. No designations. I'm impressed. Damon clapped his hands together. Great. Now, can we please start blowing stuff up? Isabel rolled her eyes. Patience, Lieutenant. She tapped her wrist display, and the hologram zoomed in further, revealing a detailed tactical layout of the Crixus homeworld. Here's the plan. Jessa interrupted, stepping forward. Wait. Her eyes burned with intensity. Before we commit, I need to know one thing. She locked gazes with Isabel. The footage you showed us, the wars, the brutality, was any of it real? A beat of silence. Then Isabel smiled. A genuine one this time. Every second. Admiral Graves Nadith. But not the whole story. He activated another file, and new footage appeared alongside the old. Human medics saving alien children, engineers rebuilding shattered cities, soldiers standing between refugees and certain death. Damon shrugged. We're complicated. Mira blinked. So it was all true? Mostly, Isabel admitted. We edited for maximum psychological impact, but the facts are solid. Humans are ruthless in war, and we do rebuild what we break. She tilted her head. The question is, which part scared you more? Tarek laughed bitterly. The fact that I'm not sure anymore. Commander Vexus finally spoke, his voice rough. The Federation Council has approved the alliance. Operation Silent Hammer begins in 72 hours. The cadets straightened, the reality of their decision settling over them. Jessa exhaled sharply. Then we'd better get ready. Damon grinned, cracking his knuckles. Oh, this is going to be fun. Isabel shot him a look. It's a stealth infiltration, Damon. Quiet is the operative word. He winked. I'll be mysterious. As the group dispersed, humans and aliens alike, Ryan lingered, watching hologram fade. Leora paused beside him. Second thoughts. He shook his head, just wondering what happens after we win. She followed his gaze to the stars. Then we find out if the galaxy's ready for what comes next. The last light of the hologram winked out, leaving only the endless dark and the faint, glittering promise of dawn. And that was the end of the story. Comment below if you want the next chapter, and hit that like button. Please subscribe, turn on the bell, and as always, keep the last light burning.